Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
We're going to cause trouble. Scott Farrell is calling the shots from the sideline. We're going to make fun of people. We're going to hurt people's feelings. It's Farrell on the bench. I believe in whipped cream with everything. It's Farrell on the bench in the biggest way possible, hanging out the bad seed, broken day, bad apple with a bad attitude, hanging around a bunch of bad actors, bad taste, bad law, bad dude, bad breath, bad attention, bad vibes. We are live in the Magic City Studios in the Farrell Appalachia, right across the river through the woods from our granny. Cut her late tonight against the dishwasher. So the first thing she did instead of stopping the bleeding was have a little Toyota Blue Dream hybrid in New York City. The Big Apple. Ooh. People dressed in plastic bags, ready to try some kind of fashion, shake it up, should do all my friend that come around, flat to party up, rats on the west side, bed bugs uptown, with a mess that's tied to tattered rubber and splattered all over Manhattan, should do be shake out. Ooh. Hey, what's gigging? I'm Farrell with Mafia tonight. The number's toll free, 844-843-6879 to get on the bench. Clippers up 5 right now with 3.5 minutes to go in the first half in Phoenix in game 5. Of course, Phoenix leads the series 3-1. They can close it out tonight. The Clippers have played fantastic tonight so far. They've been dealing, and certainly they've been hot from the floor. They came out firing, and they've been firing ever since. 59% from the floor, but just 3 of 13, 23% from downtown. The Suns, meanwhile, are shooting well from beyond the arc when they shoot it. 7 of 13, 53%. They're shooting 47% from the floor in the game. Now it's a 3-point game with the Clippers leading. And so far, it's been the usual suspects. Booker with 16. He's 4 of 9 from the floor, 3 of 3 from 3. And CP3 has 9 and 5 dimes. He's 4 of 7 from the floor. Nobody else is doing anything in particular worth note. It's 8 and 6 and 3 boards, so they've taken Ayton out of this game so far. Morris has been hot. He leads the Clippers with 15 points on 7 of 9 shooting and 1 of 2 from downtown. Reggie Jackson also going off, 14 points, 5 of 7 from the floor. He's hit 2 threes. He just had a beautiful kiss off the glass, and now they're back up to a 5-point lead. They've also got 10 from Boogie Cousins tonight, 5 of 9 from the floor for Boogie. DeMarcus Cousins getting involved. PG's got 9. So, it seems like, the Clippers are just shooting better. And the Suns are missing like every other shot. They can't get consistent at all. But they're also giving the Clippers some calls in this game so far. And whatever, it is what it is. Clippers lead it 54-49, 2 minutes left before the half. We'll keep our eyes on that all night. Of course, as I mentioned, the Suns can wrap it up tonight, eliminate the Clippers, and go to the NBA Finals if they can win this game in the second half and get it done. We got a good hockey game going on. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals in Tampa. The Lightning led 2-0, but a ricochet bucket type shot that went off of a body, then a skate, found its way in for Montreal late in the period. So Sherratt made it 2-1 on that goal at 17:40 of the second period. Cernak opened the scoring 6:19 into the first, and then Gord in the second around 5:47. He made it 2-0 from Coleman and Goudreau. The first goal, Cernak's from Point and Palat, and then the Chirac goal made it a 1-goal game. So they're going to go to the third, and they're down 1, and they got a great goalie. So we'll see if he can keep him in the game. We'll see if he can stop Tampa from scoring more. See if they can tie it up. So there's 20 minutes left in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final at Amalie in Tampa, and the Bolts lead it 2-1. We welcome our radio affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 204, Mightier 1090 in San Diego near Tijuana, do you wanna? Sports Map, Sports Byline, Armed Forces Radio, hoorah, soldier, hoorah. It's Pharrell on the bench on a Monday night. Mafia with me tonight. So under 40 seconds now left in the first half. Your boy Morris gets another shot off. They're going to call that a foul before the shot, but that thing fell too on the baseline. This guy's on fire right now. So every time the Suns get close, the Clippers get away from them. Every time they get it, they got it to 2. They got it to 3. Next thing you know, they're down 8 again. I mean, they just can't catch him. And he's got 18 already. And it's he's going to try to make it a 10-point game right now. It's unbelievable how they keep getting close, and then the Clippers drive away from them again. It's the second time I've seen them get within, 4. They got 3, then 2, then next thing you know, it's now 9. It's the second time it's happened. They've gotten close, then they got away, got close, got away again. So they can't seem to hang with the Clippers the way they're shooting the rock.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
It has come to our attention that some of you are guilty of superstition. Dude, trust us. Winning after an XL pepperoni pie before every game is just a coincidence. Take a breath. And maybe a diabetes test. We're your home for the winning edge. This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
All right, so at the half, the Clippers lead at 59-52 over the Suns, and they've been hot. They've been knocking it down. Morris and company have been knocking it down, and Suns just can't seem to catch them. So it is what it is. And like I said before. It's the shooting. Oh, my God, they're shooting 55% from the floor. The Suns 44% from the floor, and you're getting productivity. How about Morris? You've never seen Morris have 20 in the first half. 8 of 10 shooting, 2 threes, 2 rebounds, and a dime. Morris Sr. going off tonight. Jackson with 14, George with 11, Cousins with 10. That's why they're winning the game. Bottom line. The only reason at all that the Suns are in this game is that they've out-rebounded them. Bottom line, they haven't shot well. They've only got one guy going off, Booker as usual, but they're not getting anything from Ayton. 6 points, 4 rebounds. He's only taken 5 shots. The bottom line is, in this series, I mean, you look at what he's done. I mean, all year long, he's had, big numbers, but against the Clippers, he's averaged 15 automatic, and in the postseason, 16.6 points a game. And then he comes in tonight with 6 and 4 boards, no dimes. He's a -4 in the first half and just not getting it done. If you look at the games so far that they've played, so the last game was Sunday, obviously. The first game of the series, rather, was he ended up with 20. Second game, he had 24, and the last second dunk. In the game they lost in LA, he still had 18 and 9 boards. And then Saturday night, he had 19 and 22 rebounds. And then tonight, he's doing nothing. I mean, he's got to get involved in the second half if they have any hope of winning this game at all. Seriously. I mean, if Ayton's not going, what good are they? You can talk about all you want, Booker, and there's no doubt that Booker deals. But when Paul's not really doing anything, he's got 9, 2, and 5. 9 and 5 isn't bad, but, he can still have a big second half and finish around 20-something if Paul gets going. But he's only taken 8 shots. Booker's taken 11 shots in the first half, and they're down 7 at the break. So anyway, 59-52 is the score. So we're getting ready here for the third period to start in Tampa at Amalie in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. One of the things I thought of when this series started tonight in the final, and I was like, it was 2-0 Tampa, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, God, hockey's almost over. I mean, this is it. You got 7 games maximum, or a short end of 4 if someone sweeps, or anywhere in between, 5, 6, whatever. But hockey's going to be done at some point next weekend, I think, because I think it's a 2-week proposition. I think today on the show, Haro said something like he was going to Game 5 next Wednesday. So that would make Game 6 Friday and Game 7 would be Sunday. So you got Game 1 tonight, and then I'm sure Wednesday's Game 2. Friday's Game 3. Sunday, Game 4, and then they probably give it some days off.
They're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're avoiding the July 4th weekend.
Oh, so they're avoiding the holiday weekend?
Yes.
There you go. So I saw tonight at some point or another earlier. Did you see they announced the Winter Classic and all this other stuff? Like the games in the winter?
Yeah. Yeah, like anybody really cares about those right now in June.
Yeah, what are they? I don't understand really, why they would announce that, frankly, tonight. You know what I mean? Why of all days today? Because the Stanley Cup Finals starting. I don't understand why they would announce those games tonight. But I saw it, and I was just like, I looked at it and it was kind of so unappealing to me. You know what I mean? Like, I have to find it or whatever. I have to find the story. Do you know who the games are, Moff?
I think the Stadium Series is like Nashville and Tampa, I think, and Winter Classic, I believe, had the Blues involved, and I'd have to look up the other team. But yeah, it's just 4 teams that, I think it might be like Blues Wild, I think, for the Winter Classic.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you're right, because I saw it, and I was so unmoved by it that I just kind of blew it off. But I saw it for a second, and I whatever, I sent the story.
Yeah, Blues Wild in Minneapolis for January 1st. All-Star game to Vegas, and then Nashville and Tampa for the Stadium Series.
But did we know that the All-Star game was going to be in Vegas? Wasn't it supposed to be but no, the NFL draft was supposed to be in Vegas, so they moved it to Cleveland, and now next year the NFL draft's in Vegas, right? So tonight they announced that Vegas got the All-Star game for hockey. Was that on the table before? I don't think it was.
I'm not sure. There's one game I don't keep track of. It's usually the All-Star game for any sport. It's like, whatever. Who cares where it is?
Yeah, they're all bad. I don't get into any of them either. I just wondered if that was already planned. Because they didn't have one in the COVID year, right? They didn't have an All-Star game. But the NBA didn't they? Oh, and here's Tampa scoring and early. Palat scores a goal right off the bat in the third period. 2 minutes in, and now it's 3-1 Lightning. They got a 2-goal lead again. That's kind of a backbreaker, isn't it, Moff?
I would think so. I mean, the goal that they got from Montreal was such a lucky goal, bouncing off two different guys, and then they right away got the pressure right back on Price and was peppering towards the end of that, second period. So to come out and make it a 2-goal lead again, give you that breathing room, is just going to be really hard for them to come back from for sure. And I don't want to say a lucky goal, but it's a good job by Palat to keep focused. But it goes off the defenseman's glove and just hangs in the air there.
But I got to ask, do you think Montreal complains that that's a high stick? That he hit it over the crossbar? That his stick was above the crossbar when he shot it?
That's not. He gets it underneath.
No?
He might finish. When he hits it, it's underneath the crossbar. When he follows through, it might go over the top, but it was definitely underneath the crossbar.
He's at that rate. I mean, at this, stage, when you're down 3-1, I'd be like checking that goal anyway because they're in trouble now. I mean, bottom line is they have to score fast to get back to a 1-goal game. They can't, let this thing tick down to 7 minutes left, you know what I mean, or something before they try to get a goal in. They can't, it's like the Islanders the other night. The Islanders on Friday night, the entire third period, it seemed like it flew by, and the game, it was the fastest third period I've ever seen in my life, right? It just kept going and going, and then it was over, and they waited, and the next thing you know, there was 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, and then they finally pulled the goalie Varlamov, and it was too late. and their odd man advantage that they had with the empty net didn't amount to anything. They didn't get it done. So Tampa's up 3-1 now in the third. We'll talk to Bruce Levine, the scorer in Chicago, next about the Cubs and White Sox on the bench.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
That's the problem with people. Everybody expects every team in the effing league to win the Super Bowl. One team wins. The rest of them lose.
Nothing for you. How about that? One last indignity.
All right, Pharrell on a bench with you. So 3-1 Tampa now. Early in the third, they get the Palat goal out of the air in front of the doorstep. So they're back up to a 2-goal lead over the Canadians in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. And the Clippers by 59-52 over the Suns in Game 5 in Phoenix. So the Clips showed up tonight. They're shooting well. Morris going off. And we'll keep our eyes on both those games as we move forward. Our buddy Bruce Levine from The Score in Chicago. Always interesting to hook up with Bruce and find out what's going on in the Windy City. And there is a lot going on there. How you doing, Bruce? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good summer, buddy.
Scott, always a pleasure. Where would you like to go? South?
I want to. Yeah, I want to start with, believe it or not, because I don't know the details, and I don't know how deep you're in on it, like in terms of that story with the Blackhawks. Like, I know it sounds crazy to start with that, with the Cubs and White Sox going on, but it was right on the top of my head. The first thing, when he told me you were coming on, I'm like, wow, I want to ask him about that and about the Arlington Heights thing. So I was reading about this crazy story with the Blackhawks, and I just can't figure it out. You mean to tell me some like a trainer was sexually assaulting players in the Blackhawks back in the day. Now, I don't know as much of it as you probably do, but
you know, Scotty, I wish I could help you, but I got no intel when it comes to that or, you know, stories like that. I just cover the sports part. I leave the investigative reporters to on the news side to stories like that. I'm just not there. I wish I had some info for you, but I really don't.
Fair enough. I mean, at the very least, has that story? Have people been talking about that on the air in Chicago?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a titillating story, and you know, people look in this day and age with social media being what it is. Any type of thing like that is going to get a lot of play out there, and there's going to be a lot of fingers pointed. We'll see if it has any legs or not, but I can tell you, you know, expertise-wise, I've got nothing for you on that. I can't help you or your audience on it at all.
All right, fair enough. So let's talk about the White Sox and Cubs then. So first, let me say, you know, we run clips all the time of on the TV side every day. We run clips of Tony La Russa. For some reason, people are fascinated on my show with Tony and his post-game, you know, ramblings in his office, whatever, after games when he does his little presser with the media. Have you found him to be fascinating running the White Sox again with some of the interviews he does, or is any of that not grabbing Chicago's attention? Like, it seems like he does these crazy interviews.
Well, Scott, he's very direct. He's very forthcoming, and he's very old school. And there was a lot of pushback here in Chicago when Jerry Reinsdorf, the chairman and owner of the team, hired him directly, saying that, you know, he skipped over his vice president of baseball operations and his general manager and said, I'm hiring Tony. I want to win a championship. I think he's the right guy. You know, so he made no bones about the fact that he did that. And a lot of people with this really good young team, you know, full of talented young players, didn't like the idea that an 85-year-old owner would hire a 76-year-old manager to run this very young, up-and-coming, exciting team. They wanted a younger manager, you know, an A.J. Hinch or somebody like that to run it because they just felt that the older guy was going to be out of touch after not managing 9 years. And frankly, although he's made mistakes like many managers make on a given night, I think he's done a terrific job of relating to the players, just like he said he had to coming in, and that it was incumbent upon him to be the one that you know, had to fit in, not the other way around. When Tony La Russa started managing in 1979 with the White Sox, it was the other way around. You fit in with the manager, and if you didn't, you were sent to the minor leagues. And if you were a big leaguer and they didn't want to send you to the minors, you sat on the bench. Those days are over in sports. Those days are over in baseball. So I think he's made a real nice segue into being the manager there. Now, I think his pre- and post-game interviews are really different and fun. For instance, today it was a rain out. We got to talk to him on a Zoom, and he was having some potato chips or something while he was talking to us. So he had totally shut down the idea that he was in game mode. The game had been called, and he was just you know, in the mode of, hey, I'll talk to these guys. I got nothing to tell them. You know, we don't have a game. There's not much to talk about. So I find him very interesting. I think people learn a lot by listening to him every day. He is slower. Sometimes it looks a little sleepy, but this guy's not asleep at the wheel.
Right. We actually, that's why we play it. We find him to be, you know, we find it engaging. We find it's kind of fun to listen to him break it all down. And we actually I've known him forever, right? Like, so I knew him when he was out with the A's, and I used to interview Tony when he was running the A's, and Dusty was running the Giants, and certainly they had their their wars, inside the Central when he was with the, Dusty was managing in the division, and right. Tony was in the division. So they've had their wars through the years, and here they are again, both managing at a ripe age. But what's funny is like you said, nobody thought it would work, and everybody thought they needed a young, hip manager that could relate to the players. And the reality is the two old men actually maybe knew more than everybody else, in the sense that Reinsdorf had already had him all those years ago, and he brought him back again, and it is working. And it's kind of egg on everybody's face, because, I mean, they're still in first place. They haven't played well lately, but they are in first place, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, I mean, you just made my point, Scott. You talked about Dusty and you talked about Tony. The parallel is that all the things that you said, plus they're both in first place. So the old dudes, whatever, they have good teams, but they're getting it done. The one thing about Dusty, just like Tony all those years, is the players love Dusty Baker. And to the point where he's lost jobs, and this to be true, with teams over the years, because it was him and the players more than it was him in the front office. He tied himself in with the players, and he was a player's guy. Tony La Russa, for all the ups and downs and, the different things with Tony, and I've had ups and downs with Tony for 40 years. He is an honest, straightforward guy that usually, you'd have to point out to me the times that he's had problems with players, and he had difficult players, even in his career, in Oakland, when you were talking to him, with guys like Canseco and Ricky and, people like that. Not necessarily difficult in Ricky's case, but different personality. And he's handled them extremely well over his, 34-year career.
Where do you think he's like? Because you think about the White Sox, you think about the A's, you think about the Cardinals, and here he is with the White Sox again. It is amazing. It really, truly is what he's accomplished in the game. And what have the players, these young players that thought they needed a young guy that they could relate to, how have they responded to him? Because he's always doing up talking about Keuchel, talking about Lance Lynn, talking about their intensity and everything else. How are they reacting to him at the end of the day now, as we head into July? They've been with him now for a while. Have they come to accept him and believe in him, that he's doing a great job, or do they just don't care because they make so much money?
Well, that's a different. We can talk an hour and a half about, how the incentive isn't there for a lot of players because they make so much money. But he's handled it beautifully as far as fitting in. He had the one, stuffed up with Mercedes, calling him clueless after he swung at a 3-0 when the team was up 11 runs. And, we heard, the unwritten rules of baseball. But Mercedes came out today, and you can read articles and hear sound from him, tonight and tomorrow, about saying that Tony's number one, and that he thinks that he's learning from Tony every single day, and that he's opened up his mind and his ears to trying to get better. He's been in a horrible slump.
Hold that thought, Bruce. Just I hate to interrupt you. Yeah. Just hold that thought just for 1 second. Sorry to interrupt, Bruce. Let me take a break. We'll come back and continue this conversation about the White Sox and Cubs, Bruce.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
Winning isn't a mystery. It's remaking the odds in your favor by developing a strategy through deftly applied expert information and insights. Where do you get this information? Right here. Well, duh. Get the winning edge. You're listening to the Sports Grid Radio Network.
All right, for on the bench, we're talking to Bruce Levine, the scorer in Chicago. So you were telling me about the Mercedes situation with Tony La Russa before I rudely interrupted you to go to break. So at the end of the day,
we got to sell those ads.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, did he did the kid get over it? Because he is a little stud. I mean, the guy can play, and was he able to handle Tony's wrath?
He was. But it took him a little while, and he slumped here for the last 6 weeks. Came out of it this weekend, and he gave La Russa all the credit for standing by him, giving him positive reinforcement every day, just having him be there at his side, helping him with the other hitting coaches, talk about staying positive, not trying to do too much. All the stuff that we've heard for a million years about guys in slumps that try to hit a home run every time at bat, squeeze the bat too hard, the old story. And he gives them credit for it. So, yeah, they've all bought into Tony La Russa, to answer your question directly, Scott. And they have lost a ton of players. They lost their entire outfield plus two guys for most of the season here. They're getting it done with patchwork hitters and very, very good pitching. They have the best starting pitching in the American League. They have a pretty good bullpen and a great closer in Hendricks, and that's how they've been winning ball games. It's a little hard to watch offensively lately because they just have a lot of guys that are AAA level or rookies learning at Major League level. But nonetheless, they're hanging in there, and I like their chances with their pitching. They don't lose a pitcher or two along the way. I think they're going to be fine in that division where Cleveland is, decimated with injuries right now and not likely to be able to hang.
So if you go back to, and there's no doubt about their pitching and their bullpen, that's the difference. But if you go back to like last week, the week when they were playing in Houston, when they played that set on I think it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Houston, and they got swept. Then they go to Pittsburgh and they split those two quick games. Then they lose 2 of 3 to the Mariners over this weekend in Chicago. What happened? Their bats just died out on those stretch of games? Is that they couldn't hit, couldn't score runs?
So they're out there looking for a trade. Bob Nightingale, USA Today, reported that they're close to making a deal for Eduardo Escobar of Arizona, who's an accomplished hitter in the big leagues for a long time. They need offense. They have to find it somewhere because the guys they have, other than Abreu and Anderson, they don't really have much luck as far as professional hitters right now. Again, really banged up. So they're not going to make just one. I think they may have to make a couple because the mantra is not we want to get in the playoffs. The mantra from owner Reinsdorf and from La Russa and the organization is we want to win the World Series and we want to do it now. And that's why I think Mr. Reinsdorf will spend what he has to spend to bring in whatever players they need to try to win this year and next.
He's had that team forever. How long has he owned the White Sox? I remember him when I was a kid living in Chicago. He owned them. I mean, he has owned them forever.
1981, 40 years.
That's crazy.
Yep, 40 years ago, yeah.
I was in high school, or I was definitely in high school. I went to Indiana University in 83 to 87, so I was a sophomore in high school when he bought the White Sox. That's crazy. And then I even worked for him I covered the White Sox when I worked at Sports Channel, and then I also did A-ball down in Sarasota with the White Sox, and he didn't like me. I know that much. He thought I was crazy. and he wasn't having it. Like he doesn't mess around. I'll tell you that much. As an owner, what's he
your
like?
Your career is as long as his. I remember working with you in the early to mid '90s when I was at the old WMVP in Chicago. Just started up in '92, '93, and I think you were on the air in '94, '95, and you were national, and we were picking you up. It was so I think you've done okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I've done it for 38 years, but I've nonstop, right? And then prior to that, like you're going back. I mean, to the beginning of Reinsdorf days. That's Pharrell in high school, and then I've watched his entire career. I've been working throughout, and then he even fired me in Sarasota, which was interesting. In the middle of a game, like in the 5th inning, he just said, "Get out! You're out of here." And I was in the press box singing songs.
He actually fired you. Personally, fired you.
Yes.
You were doing the PA, or you were doing the broadcast.
I was doing games, A-ball games, Florida A-ball games, and they were down for spring training, right? The big club, and I was in the press box, and I remember I vaguely remember what happened. That the guy, so he didn't like me, he didn't like what my act or whatever, and so he had like the PR guy fire me. He came over to me in like the 5th inning, and he just said, "Mr. Reinsdorf wants you to get your stuff and get out." and I was like, all right. And that was the end. And that was the end of that. But I had been on in Chicago. I had been on in Chicago forever, like on, the MVP. Then I was on Sports Channel in 95. I think that was when I was on, or 94, I was on Sports Channel. And then I went to whatever. I ended up going to Westwood One and CBS and doing the Pharrell and Events show nationally, whatever. But I had been on Sports Channel in Chicago out of San Francisco when I was working at KMBR in San Francisco. But prior to all that, like in 1990 or something, I think it was around 1990, but he had probably owned the team for about 9 years. And I was down there working at Ed Smith Stadium, and I'll never forget it. I mean, how do you forget Jerry Reinsdorf firing you in the 5th inning of a game? I mean, you don't forget that.
He did you a big favor. He turned you back into radio, right? I mean, he did you a big favor. I mean,
well, he did.
Play-by-play was not your calling. It was what you've been doing now for forever. That's your calling.
Well, I did play-by-play in the NHL in '99 with the Atlanta Thrashers in their expansion season, and they didn't like me doing that either because I was like, I really think, Bruce, that I was like Harry Carey in a sense. When I did the games, I had the hockey stick mic, and I was swinging it in the press box, and I was singing and dancing, and I drank beer.
Scott, you know what it is? It is that you had fun, and you didn't care if other people liked it. And the fact is, there's millions of other people that felt your type of fun was fun for them. That's why you had a long career, because you've always been authentic. And this isn't a telethon for you or anything, but it's the reality is you're still doing it. You're still doing it strong, and you're still having a good time doing it, except when you have to talk to program directors or go to meetings once in a while. Other than that, it's a good time.
You're right, Bruce, about all of that. 100% accurate. As always, Bruce knows everything. He knows everything about me. And I'll tell you this, I don't go to meetings anymore with program directors. And I'm too old to go to meetings with program directors anymore. Those days are over. I email them real quick and tell them what the problem is or whatever. But I don't have, like, when they come calling, Bruce, I don't answer. I don't have any time for radio phone calls anymore after the many years I've had problems with program directors. Let me ask you about the Cubs. They're playing the Brewers tonight, and the Brewers are hot. I got a few minutes left here. I got about 4 minutes. I wanted to get your opinion of where the Cubs are headed into kind of the holiday weekend here coming up, and what's going on with the Cubbies.
They're going to be buyers and sellers at the same time. Have you ever heard that before? So
Sure.
they're going to kind of do what the Yankees did. You remember back in 2016, the Yankees they were an average team, but they knew they weren't going to go deep in the playoffs. So what did they do? They traded Miller to the Indians, and then they traded Chapman to the Yankees, and they got
That's right.
5 or 6 really good players back. One of them happened to be Gleyber Torres, who up until this year, he's been in a funk this year, but he was an all-star up to this point. He had 38 home runs 2 years ago.
Right.
And Cashman rebuilt on the fly. The next year they were good again. That's what the Cubs are going to try to do, although they have 13 would-be free agents, including the big guys of Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, and Kimbrel. So the temptation is to move some of those guys before they become free agents and walk, and at the same time build up the cachet of their starting pitching, which they don't have a lot of, and try to get controllable pitchers for the future. That's their goal. So they're going to try to compete, win this very average division, and the Brewers are leading a little bit, but it's a very average division, and they can still do that, but they're going to try to get controllable pitchers. And at the same time, they might trade off of their big league roster because they have 13 would-be free agents in November.
So they actually tied up the Brewers in the 7th. Wisdom homered to left with a man on to tie the game up. That kid's been pretty impressive for them. And let me ask you, did Baez get over the Ross benching? Because I know he hit a big home run over the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
He's fine, no problem.
No, he came back and homered the next day. Ross is really good at being a baseball manager. Great communicator, as you know, and he said, "Hey, you forgot there was, he ran to third base and forgot that there was 1 out rather than 2 outs, got doubled up. Embarrassing, and with the way the Cubs are struggling to score runs, it was a big deal. So he said, hey, you know what? Take the rest of the game off. You'll be back in there tomorrow, but I can't have you in there the rest of the game." And it was a matter of fact, and Baez came on the Zoom right afterwards, very forthcoming, said, yeah, he told me take the rest of the game off, and I'm doing that. It was his call, and that's it. So in many places, like in New York, where they would hide the story, they came out and just talked about it. That was the end of it. Next day, he was back in there. No big deal. It's a lesson learned, I think, for other teams and other people in sports. You got a problem. Right. Don't pretend there's a rat down the stairs or a muskrat. Just come out and say, hey, 2 people had a disagreement, and we've moved on from it. No big deal.
Like here, it's different here in New York, as you know, Bruce. In Chicago, they get shot on the south side. In New York, they get shot right in Times Square in broad daylight. I got to run, Bruce. I love you. It's always great having you on the show. We'll catch up again later in the summer. Yeah. Thanks so much, buddy.
Scott, be well. It's always great talking to you. Take care.
I love that guy, Bruce Levine in Chicago at the Score on the bench.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.
Their ass beat. They were going through the motions. They were lifeless.
I don't like that or condone that at all.
I play it straight up, yo.
So the whole time I'm trying to get Bruce to tell me about the sexual assault case in Chicago. Mafia's in my ear going, don't go there. It's great. Mafia's he's like the radio boss now. He's like the program director for me because he knows when I'll get in trouble. He's like, just change subjects. Don't do it. Go. Talk about the horse track. I'm sitting there asking him, you don't know anything about the sexual assault? He's like, go to the Bears. Go to the Bears. I'm like, I'm listening to Mafia in one ear. I got Bruce in the other ear. And Bruce is like, I have no idea. I have no information on that whatsoever. Because that's the kind of story that gets people in trouble, right? In this business anymore. And I just am not afraid to talk about it because I think it's unbelievable. I find it, and I do this on Coast to Coast all the time. I do this on For All on the Bench all the time. You name it. When I did the Bo Schembechler story a couple weeks ago, I'll do it all night. Whenever there's crazy stories, Sandusky, you name it, Nasser. I mean, I'll go all week doing it. But I still can't figure out what happened in Chicago with that Blackhawks team and some video coordinator, whatever, some assistant, someone on their staff, someone in that organization was, sexually assaulting players, and nobody did anything about it. That's crazy. Like, as I said to Mafia, can you imagine some video coordinator touching you and you're playing in the NHL? Like, they'd jump off that table and kill them. I mean, they literally beat the crap out of them, which I thought would have been a fantastic story to cover, at least from my perspective.
Check out the latest footwear innovation from Adidas, the Adizero Adios Pro 2, which features carbon fiber energy rods that are both lightweight and precisely tuned for a more anatomical transition. Everything from the ultra-light polyester upper to the re-sculpted midsole and the reinvented outsoles are designed for speed. Visit adidas.com to learn more today.